And greetings, welcome to the Evidence Reasons Academy. And I'm Salvador Cordova. Just kind of random musings about things, and I don't mean to make light of things by using the word musings. It's really thinking about it, pondering it. I don't want to make the topic of war amusement, so maybe I'll change the title. The show tonight is about Ukraine, but it's also some just random thoughts. If you all were wondering what the I got the wrong. One moment. I need to change the monitor here. I think it's this one. Yeah. If you all were wondering what the thumbnail was, one moment here. This is a postage stamp that I presume is in time for the holidays in Ukraine. It pictures a soldier on the right with his wife thinking about him and missing him on Christmas while he's out there fighting a war. And it's a very touching picture. Resonates a lot. It does capture kind of the Christian soul. At least culturally, Ukraine is Christian. And I've asked around, I thought the Soviet Union was atheist, and someone told me they never really lost their Christian identity. They needed Christ to help them get through the tyranny of communism. And so it surprised me that the present tyrannical leadership in Russia was appealing to Christian themes, and they even have a KGB agent being the chief of the Orthodox Church there. So I said, how did that happen? It's the Christian, kind of the Christian morals are still there and the appeal to God. I mean, I guess when things are really bad, I try to tell people it's like it's providence that we have technology and we have resources in abundance, and it's because we've had some role in applying ourselves towards science and technology. It's easy to think that we're responsible for it, but when that's gone and life is not so good, people begin to think, I think I need some help that humans cannot provide, that I cannot provide for myself. I think that's just kind of instinctive. So that is why I think there's always been a religious spark, because, it's easy to be an atheist when things are really going well. In fact, it's hard not to. I would actually argue God makes it really easy to not call on him, because it says in the Bible, wide is the gate, easy is the way that leads to destruction, but narrow is the gate and hard is the path that leads to life. That's just the way God designed it. And I'm not going to try to justify why, except maybe to say I think God filters out the people that really want him. That's the people that want to turn their back on him. He makes it really easy for them. That's one of the most challenging verses in the Bible. But in any case, I was struck by the cultural Christianity that I see there in Russia and Ukraine. It moves my heart. And I gotta say, all that state-sponsored atheism didn't really do much for the human condition, did it? Made people turn to the faith. Isn't that amazing? It couldn't serve the needs of the human soul. In any case, so I'm going to talk, just let me just say this. I have not really any issues with the people of either country. Their cultural quirks, kind of the racism's kind of not so good. But it says in Ecclesiastes, one sinner can destroy much good. And this is a war that doesn't have to happen. Both sides are losing because of the greed of one man and the lies that have been spread to incite war. And lots of Russians are dying because they think this is some sort of holy cause. And it's not. The same sort of propaganda was used in Nazi Germany to motivate otherwise, respectable people to fight for Adolf Hitler. And I see some of the speeches of the German officers there and saying, "God help you, may the Lord be with you in your mission." I'm just like, oh boy. Karl Donitz, the commander of the U-boat fleets, speaking to his sailors, telling them to go off to war and may God help you in your sacred duty. This is just terrible, and I see the same thing going on. So they're Christians on both sides, and it's entirely possible, probably inevitable. Christian Ukrainians will be shooting at Christian Russians in this war. But because I really do think as a nation, Russia is in the wrong because of Putin, not primarily because of the people, but because of Putin. But unfortunately, people are involved. I'm rooting for the Ukrainians to win this. We're at brink of nuclear war. What else is new? I've been saying we should be on our knees praying God will solve this. There's a point I think people just have to realize this world is so dangerous we really could wipe out human civilization. That's the thing I say about these people that are utopianists and communists. I'm just like, you really think you can control human nature with laws and trying to rationalize things? Stalin, atheist, hated God. He hated people. What's the guarantee he's going to act in a communist system? What guarantee do you have that anyone's going to act on the benefit of humanity? None. It's just crazy when I hear these people advocating communism. But in any case, why don't what's my interest in military stuff? Well, I was a defense contractor for a while before I got into biology, and people do know my story. Let me show you a picture. If I have it. When I was at work, I supported this missile system here. And the subtitle is Cruise Control, and you can barely see it says at the top Harpoon. I supported the Harpoon missile system. This is one of my favorite. It was a gift to me. McDonnell Douglas, the maker of the Harpoon missile, they made a big deal about this. Ukraine has been given Harpoon missiles to help defend its coast, but God help the Russian Baltic Fleet, and I shouldn't say God help them. God, I don't know what to do about them, but I feel sorry for the sailors if Ukraine gets, if the U.S. authorizes Ukraine to use FA-18s, FA-18 fighter attack Super Hornets. I supported the FA-18 C and D. Now we have, that was the old Hornet, the regular Hornet, not the Super Hornets. But the regular Hornets, I was building flight simulators to train pilots to fire this, if I dare say, this magnificent, beautiful missile. It's just too bad that it wreaks havoc and destruction and suffering. if we could eliminate all the killing, the suffering, and agony caused by war, it'd be a glorious thing. And that's what we call video games. Because these are marvelous technologies, and it's just so sad that it's used for such cruel purposes. And so, I mean, if we could only fight wars with video games and not have any consequences, it'd be a lot more fun enterprise. And I think as I began, I have to confess, at first this was, as a young engineer, I was like, this is almost like a sporting event. Let's make the best weapons and let's win the game. And then when you start to see the suffering on the other side and on your side, it's like, no, this isn't a game anymore. This is people's lives. It becomes harder and harder to discern who's the good guy and the bad guy in these conflicts sometimes. So, I feel it's important for the national defense, and like I said, I'm rooting for Ukraine, but with some reluctance, because there are Christian Russians on the other side. They're going to be dying. So, but on the other hand, Putin must be stopped. So just like in World War II, there are Christians who are fighting for Adolf Hitler. It's just amazing, and one of them, I guess his conscience was bothering him enough. Toward the end, he just disobeyed Hitler, and his junior officer said, "Don't go back. You've been summoned back to Berlin." They said, "Don't go back. You're going to be executed." And he didn't go back, and he survived the war, as far as I know. I need to look up the name of that officer. He refused to join the Nazi Party, but he was feeling like he was serving Germany. So also, I had a portrait of James Clerk Maxwell on my desk. While I worked for that defense contractor, Delex Systems Incorporated, I then had a number, I was a consultant then for a while for a variety of organizations, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, GRCI, SAIC. SAIC was fun working for them. And then finally the MITRE Corporation. So, and there was also Lucent. It's great being able to do software, and as a consultant, you get to go to different organizations, and you could just apply computer skills, so you never know what kind of industry you might be in. I happen to be in the aerospace and defense industry mostly, but I got to contribute to the FBI's IAFIS fingerprint identification system. So anyway, I just wanted to relate a little bit of my past. And so let's talk about Ukraine specifically. Let me show a map of their current progress, their military progress. So there is this Deep State Live. And let me just back this up. Let me just adjust it a little bit so you could see the progress. If you'll indulge me, I'm trying to get this going. So Deep State Live. And just Google Deep State Live and Ukraine, and you'll get this. So this is, you can barely see it here. This is all Ukraine. This is Ukraine going from there, kind of all around here. That's Ukraine. So there is Lviv, Kiev is here. And they said it's like a day's drive to Moscow. So Moscow's here. Kiev is here. And we have this little distance measuring tool. So let's go from Kiev to Moscow. What is that? Where they're dropping a bomb? I wasn't trying to do that. Kiev. And I should be able to do this. Distance measuring tool. Click on the map to add first point. And I'm going to click on the map to... No, it's not letting me do that. I don't know how many kilometers this is. So I'm going to zoom in. Let me see if I could do this better. So there's Kiev. This thing's not letting me do this. I'm supposed to be able to click this and do a distance measurement. There. It is 725 kilometers. Probably a little more. Hang on. 760 kilometers. So let me just do a quick calculation on YouTube and see how long that is. So 757 km to miles. That's only 470 miles. That's 470 miles. That's like, I guess that's like an 8-hour drive. That's not even a day's drive. So for, on a U.S. highway, 470, yeah, that's about 8 hours drive. That's all. I didn't realize Kiev was that close to Moscow. So now let me zoom in. That was really kind of funny where they're showing a bomb being dropped when I was playing with this. That was kind of funny when I clicked that, and then I click that, and it drops a bomb. That's kind. I didn't know they put that in the software. Anyway, that's a little bit of humor I didn't expect that they put in the software. So let me zoom out. And so it's this region here that is of immediate interest. Here in, let me stop that bomber. In Kherson. So there's a city of Kherson here. Kherson. And November 3rd, this is where the Ukrainian, the green and the blue, well, we have blue for water, but there's another shade of blue that indicates that it's confirmed Ukrainian. Green means the Ukrainians have fought back and retaken and liberated their territory and have liberated it for a long time. Blue is recent. So I'm just going to advance this. So this is November 3rd, November 4th, November 5th, and just watch the lines. The pink region, or this orange, whatever color you call it, is the Russians. And in between, this kind of yellow region in between, there is kind of the contested area. So on the 6th, not much movement. On this, that's the 7th, 8th, and you could see a little bit of movement here. Let me just show it. See, there was just a little tiny bit of movement there. And now it's the 9th. And you could see suddenly there started to be movement up here and there. So let me just show it again. This is the 9th earlier in the day at 8:38 a.m. And there's the timestamp here on the lower right-hand corner. 3:58 p.m. It starts to move a little bit. You could see it start to move. On the 10th, even more. I mean, okay, by 5:50 p.m. it starts to move more. This is then 5:04 a.m. So let's go back. And you could start to see there's movement here in the contested area. Yeah. So when you see this shade of blue, that means the Ukrainian flag is flown in that area. So let's just advance it. 8:48 a.m. Boy, a huge amount of movement. 8:48 a.m. You could see they moved how fast. How much did they recapture? 10 kilometers. And then at 10:36 a.m. even more. So let's see where their starting point was. So that's Kalinivsky. Okay, so I'm going to mark Kalinivsky and see how far they moved. By 10:36 a.m., Kalinivsky, and they moved the lines 16 kilometers. Okay, so let's advance the clock a little more. And they are just rolling. And so this was yesterday at 6:34 p.m. 4:04 a.m. today. And wow, look at all that territory that was liberated. Let's see. Novopetrivka. Let's see, Novopetrivka. I keep my eye here, Novopetrivka. Wow. The Ukrainian forces moved that fast in about just a day. 45 kilometers. And so all the blues liberated. There's obviously going to be pockets of resistance. The Russians claim they have gotten across the Dnipro River and are on what we would call the eastern bank or the southern bank, southeast bank. So these are the Russian units there. And this area is contested. Maybe a lot of the guys just didn't get across the river. They're stuck there. They should surrender, or otherwise they're going to be eliminated. So there are pockets of resistance here. So the Kherson region has basically been finally liberated. Oh my goodness, look at that. This is at 4:04 p.m. So this area is considered liberated. And so the Ukrainians, all the green that you see there is showing where, and this light blue is all the liberated areas. There was a time they were, threatening Kyiv here and all of Ukraine. And over there to the west is Lviv and Poland. And there's Subcarpathia and Zarapatia, the Zarapatia Oblast. So I think Subcarpathia is part of Poland, and this Zakarpattia Oblast is Ukrainian. And there's Hungary, Slovakia. I wonder where Slovenia is. That's where Melania Trump was from. So in any case, that's the news there, and I have an article from the Financial Times. I was just wanting to read it here as I muse. A video posted on Friday afternoon on the Ukrainian military's channel on the Telegram social media app showed a Ukrainian soldier in the city's main square standing above a cheering crowd and saying, We greet you from Kherson. People then hugged him and chanted, "Glory to the armed forces of Ukraine." So I guess that's the video there. Glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Video footage posted by Russian military bloggers on Telegram showed the Antonivsky Bridge, the main crossing over the Dnipro, had plunged into the river, forcing some Russian troops to cross on pontoons. Igor Konashenkov, Russia's defense ministry spokesman, said the army had completed the redeployment in the early hours of Friday without leaving any equipment behind or suffering any casualties, and helped civilians who wanted to accompany them across the river. I don't believe that. But anyway, this map is old. I don't think this is as good as that deep state map. Now they say this is updated recently, and this one doesn't show the Ukrainians advancing as far as the other map. So we'll just see. However, Alexei Arestovich, a Ukrainian government advisor, said that thousands of Russian troops had failed to retreat in time and that some units had left their equipment behind. The Antonivsky Bridge is no longer there, according to preliminary data. There is no pontoon bridge under it. Arestovich tweeted, adding, "Now thousands of people with their resources cut off and the possibility of retreat are looking at a kilometer of water in front of them." As of Friday, neither Ukraine nor Russia had taken credit for conducting a strike on the bridge. Kiev's forces had previously hit the bridge using precision Western missiles to disrupt Russian supply lines supporting its occupation of Kherson. If I had to guess, if the Russians did indeed retreat, the standard military procedure is you blow up the bridge if you don't want the enemy to come get you. So I'm presuming the Russians blew it up. I mean, it's really hard to use. I mean, why would Ukraine waste so much artillery and HIMARS to destroy a bridge that they might want to use? So I'm just guessing the party that would want to blow it up would be the Russians. Located on a delta where the Dnipro flows into the Black Sea, Kherson is a strategically important region that links Crimea, which Putin annexed in 2014 and controls the peninsula's water supply. And there's some more pictures there. Losing control of the city, where occupation authorities had put up billboards proclaiming that Russia is here forever, is the latest in a string of failures for the Russian military, outnumbered in the face of a Ukrainian counteroffensive armed with advanced Western weapons. After Ukraine first began pushing Russian forces back in September, Putin attempted to escalate the conflict further by mobilizing Russia's reserves, annexing the regions and threatening to use nuclear weapons. But Ukraine has steadily pressed on to reclaim swaths of territory that the Kremlin still claims as part of Russia. Dmitry Peskov, Putin's spokesman, told reporters on Friday that Russia would not relinquish its claims to Kherson. It's a region of the Russian Federation. The status is determined by and enshrined in law, he said. So that's all there is to that. I enjoyed reading it. Now I have some other side commentary before I shut this down. There is a Fox News analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGuinness, retired. Now, Bob McGuinness is, after he retired, he joined the Family Research Council, and that's a conservative Christian evangelical, I guess a think tank or something. And he also knew someone named Jared Bridges at the Family Research Council. They both attended. I was a dual member both at McLean Bible and Occoquan Bible. And Bob McGuinness and Jared Bridges attend Occoquan Bible Church. Bob McGuinness was Bob McGuinness is a Fox News analyst. Now, the sad thing about the Family Research Council, it was attacked by a homosexual activist who went there to assassinate people. If you Google the Chick-fil-A assassin, Jared Bridges was an elder at Occoquan Bible Church, the church I was a dual member of with McLean, and a homosexual activist tried to kill him. And Jared is a creationist, and you know, this is a serious culture war. We're an elder in your church. I mean, a lot of people could have died in that assassination attempt. Let me share a little bit. I mean, just so you know, let's see. Floyd. So, I mean, you'll see this on an official government, you know. Virginia man sentenced to 25 years in prison in shooting of security guard at Family Research Council. Defendant targeted organization in a planned attack. So he's going to try to assassinate the whole. Floyd Lee Corkins was sentenced to today 25 years in prison on 3 felony charges, including a terrorism offense in the August 2012 shooting of a security guard at the Family Research Council in downtown Washington. And Corkins pled guilty 2013. It's the he entered the building with the intention of shooting and killing as many employees of the organization as he could. I mean, this is chilling. Someone from my own church was the target of an assassination attempt. I mean, that church is just walking distance for me. So, you know, we're living in a culture war. Christians are hated in this country, and you know, conservative Christians are hated in this country. And I believe the conservative viewpoint of Christianity is generally the correct one. You know, the practice of its profession. I mean, we've got people like Warnock, who claim to be a pastor, and he's pro-abortion. So, I mean, yes, some people that name the name of Christ, I don't necessarily trust them. So anyway, I mentioned that's Jared Bridges. He's an elder at Occoquan Bible, and he's also with the Family Research Council. He survived the assassination attempt. Praise God for that. But then there's Colonel Bob McGuinness. So let me see if I have something about Bob McGuinness. Let's see. McGuinness. So there is a book . There it is. Hang on, I'm gonna show it here. So that I showed that Colonel McGuinness, there he is, Colonel McGuinness, Fox News commentator, Robert McGuinness. You know, being in DC, you just run into all sorts of people. Like I said, going to McLean Bible, President Trump went there one Sunday, Vice President Pence a few times. And so you just, you know, you may run into, you know, this is just a city where you run into a lot of the, you know, there are a lot of influential people here, news reporters, senators, cabinet members, etc. I also went to Truro Episcopal Church, and I was told Chief Justice Thomas of the Supreme Court was there. I mean, you just never know who's going to show up. It's not unusual to be in the congregations here and you're joined by, prominent politicians, businessmen, etc., etc. It's also a diplomatic area, so people from all countries come here, they're dignitaries, etc. And then you have ordinary folk, and I think that's just the beautiful thing in a Christian church. We're all, God's not a respecter of people. And so you'll have all sorts of people in the same, worshiping God in the same sanctuary, and that's a beautiful thing. So Colonel McGuinness is a retired U.S. Army officer and experienced military analyst with on-the-ground experience inside Russia and Ukraine, and author of a number of books that address the Russia and China threat, including Give Me Liberty, Not Marxism. So when the Ukraine war broke out, Fox News had him on there a lot because that was one of his specialties. In addition, kind of the larger issue of Russia and China. But, so that's the Fox News, that's his professional role. Now, he has certain religious views, being a Christian, and let me see if I could find that. Give me one moment. I need to find that. Just give me one moment. I'm just clicking around here trying to find it. And let me bring that up. All right. Alliance of Evil. So let's see if I can just read a little bit more about Colonel McGuinness. He is a retired Lieutenant Colonel, Bob McGuinness. Graduated from the U.S. Military Academy, the Naval Postgraduate School, the Command and General Staff College Defense Language School, and the Army War College's Strategy course. He is an airborne Ranger infantry officer with service in 4 infantry divisions on 3 continents. That's amazing. So I presume that was the West Point Military Academy, and then also going to the Navy, the Naval Postgraduate School. In 1993, he served with the Pentagon group that wrote the now abandoned policy on homosexuals in the military, known as Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Once retired from the Army, he joined the Family Research Council, FRC, where he rose to be the vice president for policy before returning to the Pentagon 16 years ago. Until late 2020, Colonel McGuinness served as the vice president for his contracting firm with duties at the Pentagon, supervising a team of national security experts and is a security cooperation expert for the headquarters department of the Army, as well as instructing a course at the Army War College. Since late 2020, he began to serve as a contractor supporting security assistance issues for the Army's Secretariat. Colonel McGuinness has decades of experience as a columnist, as a Fox News military analyst, and as an on-air commentator for multiple radio programs and networks. He is the author of a nearly 1,000 articles and 8 published books, with the latest released in September 2022, Kings of the East. And the book that caught my eye, released October 6, 2018, is Alliance of Evil. Alliance of Evil establishes that without a doubt the United States and her allies are locked in a prophetic global confrontation on many fronts, a new kind of dual Cold War with the Russians and Chinese. The Russian Federation, under a populist authoritarian leader, seriously threatens the West ideologically through cyberspace and militarily, thanks to that country's heavy investment in sophisticated mass-killing weapons. The People's Republic of China is a great power with global ambitions, led by a new kind of authoritarian communist leader focused on rapidly growing the world's most populous nation economically and militarily. Together, China and Russia collaborate on many fronts to dominate the future world. That relationship And that relationship could well become the catalyst that leads to the biblical end times. The alliance of evil reveals a really realistic view of the prophetic scriptures regarding the end times and whether China, Russia, and the United States are players in the final scenario. 16 indicators of a new dual Cold War-like future with China and Russia pitted against the United States and her allies. How the new dual Cold War is fanned by American arrogance, hubris, which reflects the weakened, perhaps declining United States. Yeah, the United States is getting weak. Decline of the United States started with the decline of Christianity here. The similarities and differences between the Cold War, United States versus the Soviet Union, and the new dual Cold War are stark, sobering, and frightening. How, as prophesied, China and Russia emerge as a new kind of great power duo, which are now aligning themselves against the U.S. for the final showdown. 4 modern battlegrounds host a new dual Cold War confrontation, any one of which could well explode into apocalyptic global war. How the Trump administration's national security strategy intends to shape the new dual Cold War international environment while avoiding kinetic conflict if that is possible. A futuristic view of how the duo of Russia and China might morph into a real end times provoking catalyst that, thanks to previously unfathomable technologies such as hypersonic nuclear-tipped cruise missiles and artificial intelligence platforms, as well as geopolitical relations that are only now beginning to emerge. And God bless you, Joseph Tim Merriman. Let me just give you my greetings. Here, I'm going to just type you a greeting. Thank you for visiting. I'm just kind of rambling here. My point in sharing this is, Jesus said there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. And, I hold out hope that I'm not in the last generation, because whether one believes in a pre-trib or post-trib rapture, there's no guarantee that Christians are going to escape. So God has commanded us, not just suggested it, He commanded us to pray for peace. Although we know at some point that prayer will not be answered, because there will be wars and rumors of wars, and the world will come to an end. So I'm just covering this, and just it echoes the fact that I want to get on my knees a lot and pray for mercy, and I think all of us should. There are people that are saying the end times are imminent. People were talking about the rapture last year, and I'm just like, no one knows. You have to be ready for any time. That means you might be here a while, so you also make plans for that. So that's kind of my feeling on all of this. And Mr. Jetty's here. Yeah, I was just rambling. I didn't, this isn't especially particularly great show. I was just covering how someone in my church, Colonel McGuinness, who is a Fox News contributor. So Fox News is a very popular. Fox News is the most watched news station, news and commentary station in the United States. Colonel McGuinness attended my church, and he also has some thoughts about the end times in the alliance of evil, and I was just reading about that. And I was also talking about Ukraine, and because even though I'm very, I'm very sad for the Russians, I'm hoping Putin's army gets defeated. I'm sad for both sides, especially because of what Putin's doing, but I don't think a tyrant should have control. It doesn't serve the world's interest that Putin has more power and he can feed his empire with, enslaving people and resources to just kind of perpetuate. Although it is really scary that if he's pushed, he might use nuclear war. I was studying history, and Hitler was like, well, if Germany doesn't win the war they deserve to lose, it's better we all get eliminated. And so he was quite willing to just ruin his own country, his own people, to serve his dreams and his greed. And so you have to hope and pray it doesn't get to that point where Putin is just like, he doesn't care about how many people he kills, so long as he can maintain his quest for more power. We don't know how rationally he'll act. And so we could be on the brink of nuclear war. But the problem is, what if he acquires more land and he realizes every time he threatens with nuclear war, he can get a concession, and he can just keep doing that. Kim Jong-un's doing the same thing, and Kim Jong-un's been very successful just saying, oh, if you don't meet my demands, I'm going to do something nasty, and they cave, and so the problem gets kicked down the road. And I'm not saying I know what the answer is. I'm just trying to get on my knees and pray and say, God, this is bigger than me. You got to help us out. Mr. Jetty says building empires is the oldest pastime in history. So in any case, that's really all I had for tonight. I was at I heard Os Guinness talk, and that's about it. This academic channel is a little bit where I have commentary, maybe too much commentary, but I like to cover both current events and history. I cover a lot of science, but I do like current events and history, so you'll hear me cover some of that, and economics as well. I think it's good to kind of get a perspective on just the state of affairs, our history, and the world. It's not all about science and creation, evolution. So with that, I'm going to close the stream. Thank you all for who've joined me live, and also in recording. I'm planning to do some more streams this weekend that are creation evolution related. So the Lord be with you all. Have a great and blessed evening. God bless you.